Hey folks, everything new under the sun. I apologize for the audio. I'm going to be using my internal microphone. Unfortunately, the mic that I was using is not working anymore. So until I get a new one, this will have to do. These articles that I want to take a look at today are basically all Russian news and could very well be propaganda, but news nonetheless. And I don't think many of us trust mainstream media news in the West anymore with recent happenings. You know what I mean? But this particular article is from jpost.com, Jerusalem Post, Russia's Medvedev. And he is saying that Biden should be given false nuke codes if he wins 2024. So Biden has come out, declared he is running again, and that's something that most of the Democrats don't even want to happen. He is so old, senile, I'm surprised he hasn't undergone a mental health test of some sort, medical test, medical assessment. But Medvedev is advising him, that he should get false codes because he's old. Writing on Twitter, Medvedev referred to Biden as a daring geezer, referencing the U.S. president's old age. And the suggestion is that Biden could very well make a mistake with the nuclear codes, and someone has to be with it and lucid to be a commander-in-chief of the United States Army. And I don't think anybody believes that Biden is 100% up to the task. So that's an interesting comment by Medvedev. Here is one from RussiaToday.com, RT.com. Russia's new tanks enter battlefield. So this is a turning point. Remember, we've said before, and many others have said the same thing, that Russia and the United States, West, Ukraine, have been putting, in order of age, basically, their weaponry, the oldest first, using up the oldest weaponry first, and both sides have been doing that. They've been battling with the oldest stuff, and then they get slightly newer stuff, and they battle with the slightly newer stuff back and forth. Now the most modern tanks, apparently from Russia, are coming onto the battlefield, and that's because they're coming up against the new, or getting ready for, the new M1A2 Abrams main battle tank coming from the United States, which is going to come in the next couple of weeks, which I did an article about a couple of days ago, that those tanks, the Abrams tanks, are in Germany at Ramstein Air Force Base, and they're training Ukrainian soldiers on those right now as we speak. Now the timeline for that was 10 weeks, but that's all propaganda. Likely the timeline is 5 weeks, or maybe there's already tanks on the ground in Ukraine. And so Russia's rolling out the high-tech stuff too. And as many have speculated, when they start rolling out the high-tech stuff, then the real war starts. Then we really know who has the high-tech equipment. And then a hot war could very well break out, depending on how this goes. Russia's most advanced T-14 Armata main battle tank have been deployed to fight Ukrainian troops. It says the news comes as Kiev is planning a decisive push against Moscow's forces. Now, the intelligence leaks by the United States suggest that the United States doesn't necessarily believe 100% that Ukraine is going to be able to do any real offensive or have any impact on the current situation. There's doubts as to the strength of the Ukrainians. So that's interesting, but Russian forces are bringing it out anyways. Russian forces have begun to use the newest Armata tanks to fire at Ukrainian positions. So this is still kind of a at-distance sort of combat that they're using these tanks, using them carefully. But we know that depleted uranium munitions are on the way, if not already on the battlefield, in the German tanks, not the Panzers, the Leopard tanks, and those have significant armor-piercing strength. The depleted uranium shells. So, do these have better technology to ward off or to deflect these shells? That's something to be seen, but interesting nonetheless. Now, here's the big story. Apparently in Sudan, and this is where the United States just evacuated with, a whole bunch of Marines, evacuated 100 U.S. personnel from the embassy, 16,000 U.S. Citizens left over in Sudan. And this is the situation where it's kind of being taken over by the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group is kind of overthrowing the government there and taking control. And just like there was talk and evidence of bioweapon labs in Ukraine, especially on the Russian border, and that's part of the reason Russia wanted to move into Ukraine, supposedly. Well, come to find out, there are biohazard labs in Sudan, and now they are under threat, according to the World Health Organization. The WHO warned of a potential biological hazard in Sudan Tuesday, describing an armed faction seizure of a laboratory holding samples of pathogens. Is this the next pandemic? Including polio and measles, as an extremely dangerous situation. There is a huge biological risk associated with the occupation of the Central Public Health Lab by one of the fighting parties, the WHO representative said. He said technicians have been thrown out. There is no accessibility to the lab and no way to safely contain biological materials and substances available. Is this maybe round two, pandemic number 2, where a pathogen gets out, causes a secondary pandemic? Certainly, some would suggest that the WHO would be interested in this, or the big pharma would be interested in this. Big pharma might already have, the vaccines ready for this sort of thing. But these are the things you got to be worried about in this day and age, and we've never had these issues before, it seems. And now all these biohazard, bioweapon labs are, having leaks or being taken over. So this is a significant thing, and this is something you need to be prepared for. And the WHO is prepared for it. And again, with the latest treaty, where the WHO wanted to create an international agreement that they would take over in the case of a new pandemic, a new health emergency, and take away your sovereignty, your freedom, your nation's sovereignty. This is what you need to be worried about, and this is what they're working towards. So folks, and this is RussiaToday.com. So pay attention and watch both sides of the news. Mainstream media, I don't think has anybody now, telling the truth as much as some of the people who have been on there. Glenn Beck, Megyn Kelly, and Tucker Carlson, and those others there related. And so you need to find other sources of news, and definitely I would not support mainstream media at all anymore. Folks, I think you still need to read it because you need to see what that side's saying. But pay attention, because there's significant propaganda going around the world. And there is great deception coming in the last days. This is Satan's last big move. It was his first move, and it will be his last big move. Great deception to deceive people, to get them to believe a lie. And in the last days, the majority of people in the world will believe the lie and will march against God, against Jesus, during the second coming of Christ. There will only be a few who found the narrow way, who believe in Jesus. So be prepared, folks. This is coming. This is not going to end. The Lord will bring justice, but before that, great upheaval, civil unrest, chaos is going to happen in the world. World war, famine, and economic collapse. Go read Revelation chapter 6. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are the first 6 or 7 verses of that chapter. So you need to be aware of what's happening and be prepared for what's coming. Thanks for watching. I'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next video.